Rydstrom with this week's industry news updates, reporting for sportsbookreview.com. We start today with some good news. Pinnacle Sports is now licensed by the Alderney Gambling Control Commission. The full Category 1 license was issued by the AGCC after months of due diligence and close analysis of the Pinnacle Sports operation. Pinnacle, rated A+ by SBR, is also licensed by the Curaçao government. Pinnacle operates on the lowest bookmaking margins in the business and is widely regarded as an industry leader. SBR will have a video tour of the Pinnacle platform in the coming days, which will be posted on our website, sportsbookreview.com. In other news, the 10-bet sportsbook dispute reported by SBR last week has been resolved. A player told SBR that his account was suspended with a €7,000 balance. The player claimed to have provided proof of ID to 10bet, but that his account remained locked. SBR followed up with management, who reviewed the claim and has now reinstated the player's account. Finally, a new Betway bonus complaint has hit the SBR mailbox. A player who took part in a promotion for Champions League tells SBR that Betway is refusing to honour their terms. Betway allegedly ran a promotion that would refund losing prop bets on the first and last goal scorer if Chelsea player Drogba scored in the match. The player did record a goal, however Betway did not refund the player's losing prop wager. Betway allegedly offered the player a €100 cash bonus instead, with a 15-time rollover requirement. Betway is no longer responding to SBR on player complaints and is on the SBR Sportsbook Blacklist with a rating of D-. Now, here to discuss these disputes and others in more detail, we welcome Justin Seven to the show.
Good afternoon, Natalie.
Hello. I've been discussing Betway, currently on our blacklist with a rating of D-. Now, are there sportsbooks who deal with player disputes in a more reasonable manner?
Yes, and I actually had a somewhat rare dispute against the Greek, which might be an example of how books should ideally handle these disputes. There were several players who had a grading dispute. They placed a wager on Champions League match, and the wagering ticket said it was for regulation time only, excluding overtime or penalties. On the wagering menu, it said just the opposite. It said that it included overtime and penalties. So you had this ambiguity. Should this wager include at a time, or excuse me, you have this ambiguity. Should it include extra time and the penalties or not? And when it's an ambiguous situation, you should generally rule in favor of the player, especially when the wagering ticket made no mention of what was on the wagering page. So I contacted the Greek, and we resolved it in about 2 emails, and the players received a credit. This is an example of how an A+ rated book handles disputes. You rarely have disputes, but when you do, SBR can typically resolve them very quickly and hassle-free.
Well, that's very good news, Justin. Do you have any other disputes you'd like to share with us today?
I have kind of a surprising one against Paddy Power. Paddy Power was taking wagers on who was going to win the pole position of the Spanish F1 Grand Prix. Now, during the qualifier, there's something a little bit unusual that happened. Hamilton had the fastest time in the qualifier, but he was disqualified because he didn't have enough fuel in his tank to get back to his pit and have the fuel evaluated. So what happened is that instead of Hamilton winning, Maldonado won the pole position, even though he didn't win the qualifier. But Paddy Power's wager said, who will win the pole position? So Maldonado, who was 250 to 1, was the winner. But they didn't grade him the winner, they graded Hamilton. So there are numerous players who were getting robbed by Paddy Power. Now, the players contacted Paddy Power trying to figure out, why are you grading it this way? We contacted Paddy Power, and they gave no meaningful responses to either us or the players.
So what remedy did the players have then?
Well, if they can't do it directly with Paddy Power, they can either file a lawsuit in Ireland against Paddy Power, or they can file a complaint with eCobra. But I've never heard of a player actually finding relief filing with eCobra.
Seems like quite a drastic measure, really, to kind of fly to Ireland and go and solve the case.
Yeah, if you're going to sue somebody, you'll typically spend a lot more than is at stake. So Paddy Power has the upper hand here if they just tell the players to bugger off.
They do indeed. Okay, thank you, Justin, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
I've been your host, Natalie Rydstrom, reporting for sportsbookreview.com.